Hi, friends. Welcome. Since we're talking about space this week, I brought a book called ABC Universe, and it is a true fact book, and it goes through the alphabet and tells you all kinds of nonfiction facts about the universe, about the world, right? So let's find out about that. A is for astronaut. Astronauts are people who are trained to go into space. The first astronauts landed on the moon on July 20th, 1969. That was a pretty long time ago. Black hole. A black hole is formed when a very large star runs out of energy and collapses. Nothing can escape from a black hole if it gets too close. And they've actually been able to get some really good pictures of black holes. And what does black hole start with? B. You got it. What letter are we moving on to? C. C is for comet. A comet is a ball of ice and dust. When a comet moves close to the sun, it can form a long, bright tail. All right, let's see what's next. What letter is after C? D. D for dwarf planet. A dwarf planet is round and moves around the sun, but it is smaller than a regular planet. Pluto is the most famous dwarf planet. So some of you might know that when Miss Gigi was a kid, and even really not that long ago, they thought that Pluto was a regular planet, but then they learned more and more about it and found out that it's actually smaller than a regular planet, so they call it a dwarf planet. And so when we talk later about how many planets are in the solar system, if you're looking at an older book, they'll probably say 9, but really now they consider it 8. And then Pluto is a dwarf planet. All right, here's our planet. Starts with an E. What is it? Earth, of course. Earth is a little, if it says if Earth were a little closer or a little farther from the sun, it would be too hot or too cold for humans, animals, and planets to exist. So the reason that it's perfect for us is that it's not too hot and not too cold. And that is what makes it the wonderful planet for life that Earth is. And so far, we haven't found a planet like Earth in our solar system. There are some that are almost like it, but they're a little too hot, a little too cold, and not right for the kind of animals and plants and humans that live on Earth. F is for flare. A solar flare is a burst of energy from the surface of the sun. And look at the sun. The sun is a giant ball of gases. So big. A giant. And that is what all of the planets in our solar system revolve around. We're going to be looking at that poster in just a few minutes here. All right, after A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? G for galaxy. Galaxies are made up of dust, gas, and stars held together by gravity. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, has hundreds of billions of stars in it. And you might have heard that word gravity. That also starts with a G. Gravity is the force that holds us onto the earth. If there was no gravity, then we might just float away. Like astronauts, when they're out in space, they can be very light, and they need to be holding onto something or attached to something so they don't float away because there's a lack of gravity in space. But here we do have gravity. H for Hubble Space Telescope. The Hubble Space Telescope is a powerful telescope that moves in space and takes pictures of planets, stars, and galaxies. It weighs as much as 2 elephants. So it doesn't look very big in this picture, but they say it weighs as much as 2 elephants. That's really heavy. All right, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. I is for, I guess you say Io, is one of Jupiter's many moons covered by hundreds of volcanoes. Io is the most volcanically active object in the whole solar system, so that means it has the most volcanoes on Io. Jupiter. J for Jupiter. Jupiter is the fifth planet from the sun and the largest planet in our solar system. One of Jupiter's storms, the Great Red Spot, has lasted for hundreds of years. So this spot right here is actually a storm, and it just keeps going and going. It doesn't go away, and so you can actually see it in pictures. They call it the Great Red Spot. All right, after J comes K. K for Kepler spacecraft. The Kepler spacecraft was launched into space to look for Earth-like planets where liquid water and life might exist. So remember, we were saying that Earth is really the only planet for life to live right now, life as we know it, like plants and animals. They have found some very microscopic germ-type life on other planets, but nothing like people and plants and animals like we have on Earth. So this spacecraft, the Kepler spacecraft, is looking for that out in space because we're hoping to find something that looks more like Earth and creatures that look more like Earth's creatures. All right, after K comes L, you got it. Lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, Earth, and moon line up, causing Earth's shadow to cover the moon. The moon looks red during a lunar eclipse. So this is, normally our moon looks like this, right? But this is what it looks like when there's a lunar eclipse. So here, M is for moon. The moon is the only natural object to move around Earth. It is also the only other world in outer space that humans have ever visited, because we can do that. We can go to the moon. But the other planets are not so safe for humans and take longer to travel there as well. So that makes it hard. So I'm going to stop the book for just a second because I want to show you something. So I know that you know we have talked about the Earth going around the sun because we sing that for our birthday song, right? So here's the globe. So it doesn't really have this. The Earth doesn't have this, and of course the Earth is many, 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 many times bigger than this. This is just a very small version so we can see what it looks like. But of course it's so big we can't even imagine, because when we look outside and you see the blue sky, and you only are on your little part of the Earth, right? So here we are in Austin, Texas. Let's find where that is. There we are right there. Okay, so this is the United States here, and there's our state, Texas, and inside of that is Austin, where we live. So there are many countries and continents around the world. So we have talked about how when the Earth is rotating like this, right, on its axis. It's rotating just like that. But it is also circling, it is orbiting the sun. Well, this book is telling us that something is orbiting our Earth. Something is going around the Earth. And did you remember what that was? We just heard it. It starts with you got it. It's the moon. So the moon orbits our Earth. It goes around our Earth, just like when we sing, the Earth goes around the sun, the Earth goes around the sun, and every time it goes around, another year is done. All right, after M comes N. N for nebula. A nebula is a cloud of dust and gas in space. Some nebulas are places where stars are born. Others are formed when stars die. O is for orbit. That was that science word we were just using. An orbit is the path that an object takes as it moves around another object. So this is showing all the planets in our solar system orbiting the sun. So all of those lines are their paths, the way they go around and around the sun. P is for planets. A planet is a large round object that orbits the sun. There are 8 planets in our solar system because Pluto became a dwarf planet, so there are now just 8 real planets that orbit the sun. Q is for quasar. Quasars are very bright objects that are in the center of very distant galaxies. So our universe is not the only universe, and our Milky Way galaxy is not the only galaxy. And so there are many more that we don't know very much about because they are so far away from us. All right, after Q comes R. R for rocket. Rockets are used to launch satellites. astronauts and other objects into space. So here is a rocket, a space shuttle going out into space. S for supernova. A supernova is an explosion of a star. It can be incredibly bright, and it is the largest explosion in space. This photo is all that remains of a supernova explosion. So that's after it has already exploded. T, you probably know this science tool. You might have even used one before. That's a telescope. Telescopes are instruments that help people see far away items. Astronomers use them to study the planets. So astronomers are scientists who study space, called astronomers, and they will use telescopes to look way out into space and study the planets, the stars, and other objects in space. And there are smaller telescopes and then very, very large ones that have really big magnification, which means they can see more than the smaller ones. All right, now we're on U. U is for Uranus. Uranus is the 7th planet from the sun at 1.8 billion miles away. Its orbit around the sun takes 84 years. So it takes 84 years for Uranus to go around the sun. Okay, how long does it take Earth to go around the sun? 1 year, right? That's why we do our birthday song. You guys walk around 1 year for each year that you're alive. And by the time we're done with Green Room, everybody has gone around the sun 5 times for their birthday. All right, white dwarf. Or actually, I guess there are summer birthdays, like mine. I have a summer birthday too. I was just thinking about that. I was thinking maybe someone's birthday's in the summer and they haven't quite got to 5 yet. Well, you at least go around 4 then. W for white dwarf. A white dwarf is a star that has run out of energy. Billions of years from now, the sun will turn into a white dwarf. X. X-ray binary. An X-ray binary is a pair of stars where one star is collapsed and pulls material off the other stars, producing X-rays. And you probably have heard of X-rays before. X-rays are like what we use to see inside of our body, right? When the doctor is trying to look inside of your body, it's called an X-ray. Yellow dwarf. Y. Y for yellow dwarf. A yellow dwarf is a medium-sized star like our sun. Even though it is called a yellow dwarf and looks orange here, our sun is actually white. And then Z is for zenith. The zenith is an imaginary point directly overhead, and it shows, I don't know if you can see that picture very well, it shows a star that is directly overhead. So that would be what a zenith is. Wow, well that was amazing, and we found out so many things about our universe. And now I just wanted to teach you a song about the universe, and it goes like this. It has the order of the planets. So let me start by telling you what those are. Okay, so it has Mercury, which is the planet closest to the sun. Remember, the sun is a big fiery ball of gas, so it is very, 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 very hot. You could not get close to it because you would burn up. And it's even, probably not safe to do a lot of looking straight at the sun when you're outside. It's okay if you look for a minute or, less than a minute, but it's okay if you look a little bit. But you don't want to stare a long time because it's so powerful that even as far away as we are, it can damage your eyes. So you don't want to stare at the sun because it is such a powerful, powerful thing. All right, so Mercury is the first planet, and you can see Mercury's orbit with that blue line right there. And then Venus is the next one. Okay, that's Venus right there. After Venus comes our planet. You know that one, that's the Earth, 3rd planet from the sun. Okay, so first Mercury, then Venus, then Earth, then Mars. Mars is the planet right after us, the 4th planet from the sun. Okay, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. And then we have Jupiter, which is a very big planet. Can you see how it's much bigger than the first 4? Right? So, and we talked about that spot on there, that that great red spot, which is really a storm that has been on Jupiter for a really long time. Jupiter, and then comes Saturn, and you probably maybe recognize Saturn by these rings. A lot of the planets actually have rings, but Saturn has some of the ones that you see the most. It has a lot of rings, and you see them there. And in pictures, you'll see a lot of pictures that show Saturn with its rings. So Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, this one, and then Neptune right here. And these two are very, very far away from the sun, so they are very cold. The ones that are close to the sun, we are warm because we're very close, but out here it's very cold out there because they are so, so far away. And remember, these are just like our globe. You cannot imagine how far away these things are from each other. Way, way farther. This is just so we can imagine it in our minds and see what it looks like. All right, so, and then the last over here, they've got it in parentheses because it's not a planet anymore. It's a dwarf planet, but there's Pluto way out there. All right, so here's how the song goes. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, these are planets, they're not stars. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, too, Neptune, and the Kuiper Belt. In our solar system there are 8. When you learn them, you'll feel great. Yay! All right, I'll sing it one more time so you can try it with me. And then you can, of course, always rewind and listen to it again. And we'll sing it together at our Zoom meeting this week as well. All right, ready? Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, these are planets, they're not stars. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, too, Neptune, and the Kuiper Belt. In our solar system there are 8. When you learn them, you'll feel great. So the Kuiper Belt is a group of, I think, I have to look again to tell you exactly what it is, but I think it's not comets, but some kind of Earth space rocks that form this thing called the Kuiper Belt. Pretty sure that's what it is. I'll find out for sure and tell you at the Zoom meeting, okay? Because I kind of forgot right now. Kuiper Belt, we didn't read about it in the book. But there is so much to learn about space, and I hope you enjoyed learning some of it today. And we will talk more and learn more, keep finding out, read more books about space. Bye, my friends.